When Derek pushed open the glass door of Brennan's auto repair that Wednesday morning, expecting to find the place empty and ready for his appraiser, he stopped dead in his tracks. Every single mechanic was there. 18 people, standing in a line between the hydraulic lifts and the tire racks, grease-stained uniforms and crossed arms. And right there at the front counter, where I'd stood for 38 years, was me, smiling. "Morning, Derek," I said. "We've been expecting you." "Let me go back 8 months. My name is Walter Brennan. I'm 69 years old, and I've owned Brennan's Auto Repair in Cedar Falls, Texas, since 1986. My father started the business in a 2-bay garage back in 1962, and I took it over when he retired. We grew it from that little garage into a proper shop with 12 service bays, a parts department, and a fleet maintenance contract with the county school district. We're not one of those chain places where they try to sell you things you don't need. We're the kind of shop where ranchers bring their trucks and know we'll tell them the truth about what's wrong and what it'll cost to fix it. My wife, Helen, passed away 4 years ago. Heart attack. She was 64 and had never been sick a day in her life, and then one Tuesday afternoon, she was gone. After the funeral, I didn't know what to do with myself except work. The shop became everything. Open at 7, close at 6, 6 days a week. It kept me from thinking too much. I have 2 children. My son, Ryan, lives in Denver. He's an engineer, good job, good family. We talk on the phone every couple of weeks. He offered to move back after Helen died, but I told him his life was out there and I was fine. My daughter, Melissa, lives right here in Cedar Falls with her husband Derek and their 2 kids. She teaches 4th grade at the elementary school. Sweet girl, always has been. Derek came into our family 7 years ago. He was a sales manager at a car dealership in Austin when Melissa met him. Confident guy, always dressed nice, always had an answer for everything. Helen never warmed up to him, said there was something behind his eyes she didn't trust. I told her she was being too protective. Melissa was happy, and that's what mattered. After Helen passed, Derek started coming around the shop more often. Said he wanted to help out, spend time with family. He'd stop by on his lunch breaks, ask questions about the business, show interest in how things worked. I appreciated it. My own son was 1,000 miles away, and here was Derek making an effort. About 8 months ago, Derek came to me with a proposal. He'd left his job at the dealership. He said the corporate culture was toxic, and he wanted to do something more meaningful. He wanted to work with me at the shop. "Walter," he said, and he had this earnest look on his face that I'd never seen before. "I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about legacy. You built something incredible here, and I want to be part of it. I want to learn the business, help you grow it, eventually take some of the weight off your shoulders." I was touched. I really was. Ryan had never shown any interest in the shop, and I'd made peace with the idea that Brennan's auto repair might not survive past my generation. But here was Derek, offering to carry it forward, to keep the Brennan name on that building. "You don't know anything about fixing cars," I said. "I know about business," he replied. "Sales, marketing, operations. You handle the technical side, I handle the business side. We'd make a great team." Helen's voice echoed in my head, that warning she'd given me years ago. But Helen was gone, and I was tired, and Derek was family. So I said yes. Derek started in April. I gave him an office in the back, started teaching him about our suppliers, our pricing structure, our relationships with the fleet managers and regular customers. He picked things up fast. Too fast, maybe. Within a few weeks, he was making suggestions. "We should fire Martinez," he said one day, talking about our senior mechanic who'd been with me for 22 years. "He's slow. The younger guys can handle his workload." "Carlos knows more about diesel engines than anyone in 3 counties, I said. "He's not going anywhere." "That's the problem, Walter. You're too sentimental. Business is about efficiency, about margins. You've got employees here who've been collecting paychecks for decades without improving their productivity. They're not collecting paychecks. They're earning them. This isn't a factory. These are people." He backed off, but I could see he wasn't convinced. He started talking about expanding, about opening a second location, about franchise opportunities. He brought up investors, partnerships, growth strategies. Every conversation felt like a sales pitch. In June, Derek mentioned estate planning. "You're almost 70, Walter," he said. "We were in my office after closing, just the two of us. Have you thought about what happens to the business if something happens to you? I've got a will." A will isn't enough. There's probate, taxes, legal complications. If you want to keep this place in the family, you need a proper succession plan, something that transfers ownership smoothly, without the courts getting involved. He'd already talked to a lawyer, he said, a friend of his who specialized in business transitions. The lawyer had drawn up some documents that would make everything simple. I would maintain full control while I was alive and capable. But if anything happened to me, the business would transfer directly to Derek and Melissa without any legal hassle. "It protects everyone," Derek said. "You, me, Melissa, the grandkids. And it saves a fortune in estate taxes." I should have taken those documents to my own lawyer. I should have read every word, asked questions, demanded explanations. But Derek was my daughter's husband. He was the father of my grandchildren. And the documents were thick, full of legal language that made my eyes glaze over. "This is just standard stuff," Derek assured me. "Boilerplate language. The important thing is that you stay in charge until you decide otherwise." I signed the papers on a Friday evening in July. Derek had brought over a bottle of whiskey, good stuff, said we should celebrate protecting the family legacy. We toasted in my office while the summer sun went down outside the window. 3 weeks later, I pulled into the shop at 6:30 inches the morning and found the locks had been changed. I stood there in the parking lot with my key in my hand, trying the door again and again like somehow it would work if I just kept trying. I walked around to the service entrance. Same thing. My keys were useless. My phone rang. It was Derek. "Walter." His voice was different, flat, professional. "I was going to call you this morning. There's been a change in the business structure." "What are you talking about?" "I can't get in the door. I've assumed operational control of the company. The documents you signed gave me full authority to make management decisions, and I've decided that your involvement is no longer necessary." I couldn't breathe. "Derek, this is my shop. My father built this place, and now I'm going to sell it. I've got a buyer lined up, a regional chain that's expanding into East Texas. They're offering $2.3 million. You'll get a portion of that as a retirement package. You should be thanking me, Walter. You'll never have to work another day in your life. You can't sell my business. It's not your business anymore. Read the documents you signed. I have full controlling interest and sole authority over all operational and financial decisions. It's done, Walter. Accept it." He hung up. I stood there in the parking lot as the sun came up over Cedar Falls. 38 years. My father's tools were still in that shop. The workbench he'd built with his own hands was still in Bay 3. Helen used to bring me lunch every day and sit in that office and talk to me while I ate. All of it. Everything I'd built. Everything I'd loved. And Derek was going to sell it to some chain and throw it all away. I drove home with my hands shaking on the wheel. I called Ryan first. "Dad, slow down," he said. "What exactly did you sign?" "I don't know." Derek said it was succession planning. Estate documents. "Do you have copies?" "They're at the shop, which I can't get into." "Dad, you need a lawyer. Today. Don't talk to Derek again until you have legal representation." I spent that Monday making calls. The first lawyer I tried was out of town. The second couldn't see me for 2 weeks. The third, a woman named Rebecca Santos, had a cancellation that afternoon. Rebecca's office was in a small building downtown. She was in her 42nds. Dark hair, serious eyes. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen. "Mr. Brennan, I need to see those documents. But based on what you're describing, your son-in-law may have committed fraud. If he told you the documents said one thing while they actually said something else, that's misrepresentation. If he used your trust in him to get you to sign without proper review, that's undue influence. Can I get the shop back? Possibly. Probably. But I need to see exactly what you signed. Is there any way to get copies? I thought about it. There's a window in the back office. The latch has been broken for years. I keep meaning to fix it. Rebecca raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. That night, I went back to the shop. I parked down the street and walked through the back lot. The window was still broken, just like I remembered. I'm 69 and not as flexible as I used to be, but I managed to squeeze through. Inside, the shop felt wrong. Derek had already started making changes. There were signs up about a transition sale and everything must go. My father's old Snap-on calendar, the one he'd hung on the wall in 1962, was in the trash. I found the file in Derek's desk. He'd been stupid enough to keep everything right there. I photographed every page with my phone, then climbed back out the window. My back hurt, and I'd scraped my arm on the frame, but I had what I needed. I sent the photos to Rebecca the next morning. She called me 2 hours later. Mr. Brennan, this is bad. These documents don't say what your son-in-law told you they said. You didn't sign a succession plan. You signed a full transfer of controlling interest, effective immediately. There's a clause on page 14 that gives him sole authority over all business decisions, including the right to sell. It's buried in legal language, but it's clear. So I lost everything. Not necessarily. These documents have problems. There's no evidence you had independent legal counsel. The language is deliberately deceptive. And most importantly, what Derek told you verbally contradicts what the documents actually say. That's textbook fraud. What do? We file for an emergency injunction to stop any sale. Then we prepare for a fight. Rebecca filed the injunction that Thursday. The court scheduled an emergency hearing for the following Tuesday. In the meantime, I started making calls. My senior mechanic, Carlos Martinez, answered on the first ring. Boss, what the hell is going on? Derek came in yesterday and said you'd retired. Said he was selling the place. Carlos, I didn't retire. Derek stole the business from me. Silence. Then, what do you need? I need you to tell me exactly what Derek said to you. Every word you can remember, and I need you to write it down. Done. I called every employee. Same story. Derek had told them I'd decided to retire suddenly, that the sale was my idea, that they'd all have the opportunity to keep their jobs with the new owners. Lies, all of it. But there was more. Derek had gotten all of them to sign new employment agreements. He said it was just updated paperwork, said Tommy, one of my younger mechanics. Administrative stuff. But now I'm looking at it, and it says I acknowledge that new management can terminate me without cause or notice. He was planning to fire them all. 18 people. Carlos had been with me for 22 years. Big Mike in the parts department had 4 kids. Jenny, who ran the front desk, was putting herself through night school. Derek was going to throw them all away like they were nothing. Don't sign anything else, I told each of them. And write down everything you remember about what Derek said. Dates, times, exact words. We're going to fight this. By Monday, I had written statements from all 18 employees. Every single one described how Derek had misrepresented the documents, rushed them into signing, assured them it was just routine paperwork. The hearing was Tuesday morning at the county courthouse. I wore my good suit, the one I'd worn to Helen's funeral. Rebecca met me outside with her briefcase and a look of determination. Derek was already there with his lawyer, a guy in an expensive suit who looked like he'd never worked a day in his life. Derek didn't look at me. The judge was a man in his 60s, named Harold Fletcher. He'd been a customer at the shop for years. I'd fixed his wife's Buick myself, back when they were dating. He looked at me with something like sympathy as we took our seats. This is an emergency hearing on the matter of Brennan's auto repair, he said. Mr. Brennan claims his son-in-law fraudulently obtained control of his business. Mr. Derek Hawkins claims Mr. Brennan signed legal documents voluntarily and is now experiencing regret. Let's hear the arguments. Rebecca went first. She presented the documents, highlighting the differences between what Derek had told me and what the papers actually said. She presented the statements from employees describing how Derek had lied to them, too. She presented a timeline showing how quickly Derek had moved to lock me out and arrange a sale, evidence of premeditation. Derek's lawyer argued that I was a competent adult who should have read what I was signing, that Derek had every legal right to make business decisions as the majority owner, that I was simply an old man who couldn't accept that I'd made a bad decision. Then Judge Fletcher asked Derek directly, "Mr. Hawkins, did you tell Mr. Brennan that he would retain control of the business after signing these documents?" Derek shifted in his seat. "I told him it was a succession plan." "That's not what I asked. Did you tell him he would keep control?" "I may have said something to that effect. But the documents... Were you present when Mr. Brennan reviewed these documents with his own lawyer?" "He didn't have his own lawyer. Did you suggest he should?" "I didn't think it was necessary. It was family business." Judge Fletcher looked at him for a long moment. "Mr. Hawkins, you have a background in sales. You understand contracts and negotiations. Mr. Brennan is a 69-year-old mechanic who trusted you because you're married to his daughter. Are you honestly telling this court there was no imbalance of power in this situation?" Derek didn't answer. Judge Fletcher closed the file. "I'm granting the emergency injunction. All transfers of ownership and control are frozen. Mr. Brennan is reinstated with full operational authority effective immediately. Mr. Hawkins is barred from the premises until this matter is resolved. Full hearing in 6 weeks. Gentlemen, I suggest you settle this before then, because if I have to rule on it after hearing full testimony, someone is going to be very unhappy." I walked out of that courthouse into the September sunshine, and I could breathe for the first time in 3 weeks. "That went better than I hoped," Rebecca said. "His documents are indefensible. His lawyer is going to tell him to settle. I want him gone completely. No payout, no stake, nothing." Rebecca nodded. "I think we can get that." The negotiations took 4 weeks. Derek's lawyer started by offering to let me buy back my own company for $1.2 million. I said no. They came down to $800,000. No. $400,000. No. Finally, Rebecca told them our terms. Derek would sign over everything, admit in writing that he had misrepresented the documents, and never contact me or any employee again. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue criminal charges. They accepted, but before the final hearing, I had something planned. I called Carlos and the other employees. "I want everyone at the shop next Wednesday morning at 7:30. Before we open, I've got something I need you all to be part of." I'd arranged for Derek to come to the shop that morning to sign the final documents before going to the courthouse. He didn't know the employees would be there. He didn't know what was waiting for him. Wednesday morning, October 15th, I got to the shop at 7. Every employee showed up, 18 people. I asked them to dress professionally, to look sharp. "Derek is coming here this morning," I said. "He thinks he's just signing papers and leaving. What I want him to see is all of us, together, still here. I want him to see what he couldn't destroy." Jenny from the front desk spoke up. "Walter, can I say something to him?" "If you want." We arranged ourselves in the shop, not blocking anything, not threatening, just present, a wall of people who'd built this place together. At 8:15, Derek's car pulled into the lot. He walked in slowly, saw all of us, and stopped. Nobody spoke for a moment. Derek looked older than he had 6 weeks ago, thinner. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Morning, Derek," I said. "We've been expecting you." He swallowed hard. "I just need to sign the papers." "They're right here," Rebecca said from beside me. "But first, these people have something they want you to see." Jenny stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "I've worked here for 11 years. I'm putting myself through school with the money I earn here. Walter gave me flexible hours so I could take classes. He paid for my textbooks when I couldn't afford them. You were going to fire me so you could pocket a few extra dollars. I'm still here." "You're not." Carlos spoke next. "I've been a mechanic here for 22 years. Walter was the best man at my wedding. He's godfather to my oldest daughter. You called me slow. You wanted to fire me to improve your margins. But I'm the one who taught half the guys here everything they know. This shop runs because of people like me. People you were going to throw away like garbage." One by one, they spoke. Big Mike from Parts talked about how I'd given him a job when no one else would hire him because of his record. Tommy talked about how I'd helped him get sober, given him a second chance. 18 people, telling Derek exactly what he'd tried to take from them. Derek stood there, face red, eyes on the floor. When the last person finished, Rebecca handed him the documents. Sign these, and this is over. You give up all claims. You admit misrepresentation. You walk away with nothing. His hand shook as he signed. He didn't say a word. When he finished, he looked up at me. Walter, don't. I kept my voice quiet. You married my daughter. You're the father of my grandchildren. Helen never trusted you, and I should have listened to her. I would have given you this business someday, Derek. All you had to do was be patient and be honest. But you chose to steal instead. I was trying to provide for Melissa and the kids. No, you weren't. You were trying to prove you were smarter than everyone else. And you're not. He looked around at the employees, at the shop, at everything he'd lost. Does Melissa know? She knows everything. She's filing for divorce. Something broke in his face then. Not remorse, exactly. Maybe recognition of what he'd thrown away. Not money. Something more important. He nodded once and walked out. I watched through the window as he got in his car and drove away. I never saw him alone again. I see him sometimes at the kids' birthday parties, standing in the corner, not talking to anyone. Melissa has full custody. The judge approved the settlement that afternoon. Brennan's auto repair was fully and completely mine again. Rebecca sent me her final bill. Her fees were substantial, almost $25,000, but she'd saved everything. I paid it gladly. That weekend, I had the whole crew over to my place. We grilled steaks in the backyard and drank beer and talked about the future. Carlos asked if I was still thinking about retirement. Eventually, I said, but not yet. And when I do, I'm going to do it right. Set up a real succession plan with real lawyers who work for everyone involved. Maybe sell the place to you guys. Make it employee-owned. You serious? Carlos asked. Helen always said this shop belonged to the people who built it. She was right about most things. Brennan's Auto Repair is still there on Main Street in Cedar Falls. We updated a few things, brought in some new diagnostic equipment, but kept the heart of what makes us who we are. We fix cars and tell the truth about what they need. We know our customers by name. I'm 70 now. Ryan flew down for Christmas last year, and we spent it at the shop. The whole crew was there, and we had a potluck dinner in the service bay. Christmas lights strung up between the lifts. My grandkids ran around between the tool chests, and for a moment, I could almost see Helen standing there, smiling at all of it. I think about Derek sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. I think about how he could have had everything if he'd just been patient, how he could have been part of something good, how trust, once broken, can never really be repaired. I think about Helen's warning all those years ago, how she saw something in him that I didn't want to see. I should have listened, but I don't regret trusting him, not entirely. I regret trusting him without verifying. There's a difference. Helen used to say that the worst betrayals come from the people closest to you, because those are the ones that make you doubt yourself. But she also said that recovering from betrayal, rebuilding what someone tried to destroy, that's how you prove that your judgment wasn't entirely wrong. Not wrong about them, maybe, but right about what matters. What matters is that 18 people trusted me enough to stand up and fight. What matters is that a judge saw through the lies. What matters is that my son flew 1,000 miles to help me, and my daughter chose truth over her own husband. Derek taught me to be more careful, but he didn't teach me to stop trusting. I won't let him take that from me too. The shop opens at 7 tomorrow morning. I'll be there behind the counter, same as I've been for 38 years, same as I'll be for as long as I'm able. We've got a county school bus that needs a new transmission, and Mrs. Patterson's Honda is making a strange noise, and old Jack Thompson's truck is due for an oil change. That's Brennan's Auto Repair. That's my family's legacy. That's what matters. And if you ever find yourself in Cedar Falls, Texas, and your car needs work, come on by. We'll tell you the truth about what's wrong and give you a fair price to fix it. That's how my father did business. That's how I do business. Some things are worth keeping the same.